Seen a lot of alert people out here. Erica, I'm so excited to catch up.
I know. It's always great to spend time with you.
But Erica and I met at one of Frank and Jen's conferences like 8 years ago in downtown Las Vegas. Stayed in touch ever since. I've been following all the amazing things that you're doing. Hard to keep up with all the startups you're investing in because there's so many great ones, but so many a part of the Startup of the Year community. I was curious to just dive right in and just hear a little bit about what you're excited about right now, some of the trends you're seeing in tech, some of the companies that you're looking at. What are the things that you're most optimistic about when you look at the way the tech world is responding to really just the world and society today?
Yeah, well, there is so much innovation happening right now. I think, I am really blessed to be a VC and to be, at the forefront of seeing what amazing founders are doing to innovate and create change in the world. One of our big theses at Rain Ventures, and we're a seed stage venture capital fund that invests in consumer tech and software companies, is what we call the we economy. And for us, the we economy is about technology startups that are using innovative technology like AI, blockchain, NFTs, and also digital communities to leverage that to solve big problems using the power of communities, right? So actually including people in solving these problems rather than just pushing tech on them to solve problems. So for us, that's a big theme. But we're definitely very bullish on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and leveraging, those network effects to solve some of the bigger problems. One of our biggest and most successful portfolio companies was actually last year's Startup of the Year winner. And we had actually invested in them way before they were even in this competition. But they're in the fintech space, and they've been able to solve the problem of predatory payday lending by creating communities and using networks to help people get capital to each other. So they solve two problems. One is very expensive, sort of emergency loans that most people can't afford, and then also a lack of attractive liquid investment opportunities for people who have a few extra $1,000s that they'd like to invest. We've seen lenders get, above double digit returns, which is great for a highly liquid asset. And we've seen borrowers be able to get access to emergency cash that can save them hundreds of dollars in late fees, inconvenience, and really, get them the capital they need to solve big problems that occur in their lives. So that's what we're excited about.
It's really cool to hear. I love hearing that lenders are putting the money to use in that sort of way, and more people are able to get the loans they need. I know a lot of money is also coming off the sidelines and certainly pouring into venture as well. Rain Ventures, tell me a little bit more about the fund and what you've kind of seen just in the general trends of VC. Certainly, a lot more smaller funds coming into the VC world right now. More and more capital being deployed outside of traditional tech hubs like Silicon Valley. What are some of those other kind of VC trends that you're seeing?
Yeah. Huh. Well, there are a lot of interesting things happening in the space. I think one of the things that we're trying to do and why you're seeing more smaller firms pop up is because there's a lot of demand, I think, on the founder side for, a different, more boutique type of investor. And we definitely, at Rain, sort of, at least for now, consider ourselves in that category. I mean, we see a decade from now being a much larger firm and a much bigger fund, but always sort of really taking that boutique approach and really sort of understanding that founders are looking for capital partners that are bringing obviously a check, tons of experience, relationships, but most importantly, people that they can trust, right? When you're thinking about who do I want to have on my board? Who do I want to have in my corner? Who can I expect to have my back for the next, decade long journey that we're embarking together on? And I think that's really why we've seen a rise in smaller funds, with maybe smaller GP partnerships where people can really sort of identify a specific type of partner that they want to work with for the future, right? Versus some of the bigger, more standard traditional venture funds. For us, a big differentiating factors is we're one of the only venture firms out there with two Black women GPs, right? There are very few, as you guys know, the venture in general is not exactly a very diverse place. And what that means is that startups don't have, great options for building diverse cap tables. Nobody wants to not have options around the types of investors that they can go to for investment. So we're helping to solve that. And also, you want to make sure that in your investor base, you have a variety of different voices, I think, to hear from. And so, even when we're investing in a company that doesn't have an underrepresented founder, we're bringing a lot of value to them because we're helping them maybe have perspective on, markets that they're not inherently familiar with.
Have any examples of some of your portfolio companies that have benefited from having those different perspectives and having more diverse leaderships?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have one really great, well, actually, two companies I think that are good examples of this. So, one is a company called Monica and Andy, which is sort of the leader in organic, sustainable baby, and they have a digital marketplace as well. Um, Brother and sister founder Monica Royer, and then her brother Andy Dunn, who is also one of the founder of Bonobos. So, a lot of experience in retail and working on a really important problem around clothing sustainability, particularly for baby clothes, which are like you go through them pretty quickly. So you want to make sure there's like a good supply chain and it's high quality product. It's interesting because, we just increased our investment in them in their last round and are looking to take a board seat. And, outside of the founder, they don't have any women moms on the board, right? And you would think with a company like that, I mean, of course there should be a mom on the board, besides the founder. And so us actually being able to fill that role for them meant a lot to the founder because she doesn't exactly love having to go into board meetings and be the only woman and the only mom when it's a, very large digital platform for moms. So that one's really important. Another one that we just did is an amazing, IoT security company called Flare. They do a very beautiful bracelet jewelry that stealthily contains some security devices. So if you're ever in an unsafe situation, you can get help to get out of it at the press of a button. Amazing team. They're both survivors of sexual assault. And when they went to raise money for this company, which is obviously a huge market opportunity, but also, a mission that's really important to them, they felt so blessed to be able to have capital partners who had actually experienced, the problem they were solving and could really, work with them on that level of, understanding where they were coming from and also, their customer base and why they needed it. So it's situations like that that really help us understand the importance of what we do and why our presence in the market is really priceless to founders.
Really great examples, and I'm excited to hear that companies like that are getting backed, growing like crazy, and have great leadership and mentorship to support it. It's really cool to hear. We've obviously had a very interesting last couple of years, just in general, as a society. Um, and I've heard a lot of investors talk about that shift of, used to be always face to face, always required, being able to shake someone's hand or, give them a hug or be in the same room with them. Certainly that hasn't always been possible over the last 2 years, which has presented some challenges for sure. And I'm sure we've all experienced that ourselves. I'm curious if you saw any benefit or even more connectivity or more um, opportunities during these last couple of years as you've been investing. Like, have you found ways to connect with different types of entrepreneurs you wouldn't have found otherwise, or found other ways maybe even to network with co-investors, or as you're raising that this most recent fund, maybe connect with people that wouldn't have otherwise been in your network? I'm just curious kind of what that was like from you being in the VC seat. Obviously I was in the operator entrepreneur seat for the last couple of years. So I'm curious to get your perspective on kind of what that shift was like.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So first of all, I'm pretty sure that pre-pandemic, I was already spending a ton of time meeting with founders on Zoom. I've kind of always, before we started our fund, I used to run a, sort of geographically distributed angel investor network. So from that perspective, I was really used to using Zoom for a lot of things because we weren't all in one location. The one thing that I would say for me that was transformative, and I'm certainly love being able to use video technology so that I can meet and spend time with more founders and connect with founders, like regardless of whether they live in New York City or they live in, Omaha, Nebraska, right? Like I love that we have that kind of open door policy and accessibility. For us, it was really transformative because prior to the pandemic, if you're raising money for a fund, whether you're talking to high net worth individuals or institutions, they would want to book an in-person meeting with you. The meeting would probably need to be booked like 2 months in advance. You'd have to fly to Salt Lake City or drive to Hartford, Connecticut, or whatever crazy place that you were going to get rejected. And, with a couple months between each rejection. So it was really wonderful. COVID accelerated the pace of rejections, which I was very grateful for. I was like, great, you can reject me this week with me only spending half an hour instead of 2 months from now with me spending a full day to get a no. But as they say the rule of thumb is like 200 no's for every yes in any sort of fundraising enterprise. So, it was good that the more no's that we could rack up, the more quickly we were able to get to a yes. And 2021 ended up being great for us with some really fantastic institutional LP partners, like the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is really interested in figuring out ways to engage our community in New York, and to support diverse founders, and particularly to be at the forefront of what's going on with the convergence of art and technology. uh, Alphabet's Capital G, which has also made a very big commitment, obviously, to startup innovation and supporting underrepresented founders. Bank of America, our first institutional commitment, as well as many amazing family offices that really believe in what we're doing and sort of the change that we're creating from seed, which is great.
Really great. I would love for everyone here to know how to learn more about Rain Ventures, what you're working on, and maybe where to follow you. What platforms are you most active on? Where
Oh
can people find all the
yeah.
awesome things you're involved with?
Okay, cool. So our website is Rain, which is REIGN, right? Like rule the world, Rain, rainvc.com. We're actually just in the process of sort of refreshing it and redoing it. So hopefully it'll be a much nicer website post Feb 1st, but you can still look at the old one if you like. And then you can follow me on LinkedIn, where I try to post pretty frequently. Instagram, it's at Erica Minahan. My full name's Erica Duignan Minahan. So I either go by Erica Duignan, Erica Minahan, or Erica Duignan Minahan. Yeah, I would say Twitter, Instagram, Erica Minahan, and LinkedIn are the best places. And of course, if you ever want to contact us, it's eric@rainvc.com. And if you're interested in raising capital from Rain, you can submit an application on our website.
Well, I just want to say thanks for sharing some of your experience and thanks for everything that you do for the tech ecosystem, backing incredible founders, awesome technologies, and really excited to, hopefully in a couple of years be back on stage with you, hearing about the more awesome stuff that you've done.
I,
So
I would love that. We should definitely try and do an interview with each other at least, once a year. I
I
don't know.
love it.
Next time I want to interview you.
All right, deal. Let's give it up for Erica Dagan Minahan.